Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting. Today is Tuesday, May the 17th, 2022. The time is now 6 p.m. The regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Trinidad will now come to order. Would you please lead us in the pledge?
Of course. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's get a roll call, please.
Devono.
Here.
Griego. Here. Ogletree. Shu.
Here.
Thurman.
Here.
Williamson.
Here.
Rico.
Here. Item 2, approval of the agenda. Does council have any changes that they would like to make? Hearing none, entertain a motion. So moved. Second.
Second.
Call the vote.
Devono.
Yes.
Griego.
Yes.
Shu.
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. Item 3, policy item and staff reports. Mr. Valentine, do you have anything?
Nothing, Mayor. Okay, thank you.
Just wanted to report something, and this is for all of the audience out there. In the coming weeks, we've had some pretty contentious meetings in the last few that we've had, and we're going to put a decorum rules out on the as you sign in. Hopefully everybody will pay attention to them and adhere to them at least. And then I will also read them at the beginning of the petitions or communications or all written time. So hopefully we can kind of settle some of these things that are being said down and say show respect for not only us, but show respect for you as well. So I just wanted to mention that to everybody. So going on to item 4, petitions or communications are all written. Can you check, see who we have signed up? First person up is Mr. Bonato. And for everyone, please keep in mind that we have 5 minutes for everyone to speak.
This won't take me about
Sure.
3 minutes to go. It kind of feels funny speaking from down here.
Can I go up there?
No, I'll get in this side.
You want to speak over here?
Empty seat there. First of all, I'd like to say, Mr. Thurman, I never met you. My name's Joe Bonato, and I'm very proud that you're still seated on our city council. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, Mr. Valentine, and Mr. Downs, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I'm here tonight to talk about something very important, and that's our water. Since the drought has been so bad, I believe we should go on to stage 1 or 2 of water restrictions. For those who don't know what water restrictions are, please ask the mayor because I don't have a few minutes to talk. What water we save now can help us in going into July and August. To put these restrictions on now, don't wait. It's important. I don't know, ever since I sat on council, every month or every other month and a half, we used to have an update from council on how our water was. I don't know, I must be living in a cave because I haven't heard nothing about how our water is. Is it okay? Is it bad? Are we holding our own or what we're doing? So that's what I'd like to talk about. If we don't get any more moisture, we need to put these restrictions down and don't wait. That's what I said. Water is our lifeline, so let's treat it as so. Also, I'm here to talk about our watershed. What type of fire mitigation is being done up there? We have been very lucky and have no fires. I hope we can find someone to clean the underbrush and beetle killed trees. I'm not a firefighter, but everyone knows fire starts at the bottom of the trees. not the top. When it reaches the top, we're all in trouble. Maybe a letter to the National Forestry can help us. I believe if we don't do anything about this, Mother Nature will. And we surely don't want that to happen. It's not when it's going to happen, it's where it's going to happen. Now, like I say, there were no updates. I don't know if anybody else knows how the water is. I know we can't have any discussions, but even if our water is filled up there at North Lake, we could preserve that water from going into July and August. Put these restrictions on now. And like I said, who don't know about the water restrictions, ask the mayor because it's very important to this city. And when we did have restrictions, the people of the city of Trinidad obeyed them. You didn't see no water going down the street. You didn't see nobody washing their cars with a hose and letting the water fly all over. Ever since I've been on council, I talked about water. Realize this, guys. Would you rather have a drink of water coming out of the faucet or no water at all? And another question I wanted to ask. If these restrictions go into place, as Mr. Downs said, and I was on council about marijuana growers, they would be the first ones to be stopped. I hope this isn't falling on deaf ears, guys, because this is really important, not only to me, but to our community. So think what we're doing and get these restrictions in place.
1 minute, sir. Sorry.
Oh, I still got 1 minute?
Yes, you have 1 minute.
Last time you stopped me.
Yes, sorry.
But, I also like to thank, I found out that there was some fire mitigation work that's going up there by the water treatment plant. Mr. Ramirez and the bar and I are kind of cleaning up things up there. But we need a lot more help to get up there and clean that underbrush. We were lucky 2 years ago that the fire we had up by Cachera didn't jump over 2 more ridges, or we'd have been in our watershed, and our watershed would have been ashes. So think about what I said. It's important. Mr. Mayor, please get those restrictions in place and do it now. Not tomorrow, do them now, when we can. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Mr. Downs.
Thank you, Mr. Pomona. Just if you would please, that was one thing that we were talking about, decorum. And if you avoid clapping if you possibly can, we would really appreciate it, okay? Mr. Lackey.
How's everybody this evening?
Good.
Good. And I'd like to tell Mr. Bonato, there is ongoing plans in the watershed to start working, addressing a lot of that stuff. So, with the Purgatory Watershed Partnership, along with everybody that we work with, has got a lot of that on the radar. So, all right. The first thing I would like to do is I would like to request a update on the river study from the city. Because as you know or may not know, we've got 3 projects going on down on the river right now. We want to make sure that those plans, if they're planned, do not conflict with what we've got going down there. And I'd be glad to discuss those projects with anybody that would like to listen. The other thing I'd like to talk about a little bit tonight is I would like to thank the city for actually taping the meetings, which have been very informative, and had presented a couple thoughts that are kind of disturbing. On one of them, I watched a couple weeks ago, a meeting a couple weeks ago. Mr. Mayor stated I didn't understand what the grant process was. Well, I do understand it. I've worked with different forms of grants for the last 30 years, 13 years with SCED, Southern Colorado Economic Development Chairman for 4 years. 3 grants that we were able to procure for the river work, grants for the boulevard. I worked with the industrial park grants when we did the infrastructure and asphalt and all the other things. So I do understand grants. And one of the other things is too, is that with all the grants that I've worked with, we have never had to pay any money back. So we've done exactly what we said we were going to do, did it on a timely manner, and it's something I think the city really needs to put out there as something that's very important. The other thing is that we have excellent grant writers that work for us right now. You've got one that works for the city, she's very good. We've got one that works for us with the Purgatory Watershed Partner that has never had grant denied. Excellent working relationships with GOCO, DOLA, Department of Natural Resources, and everybody else. So we need to have the city start thinking about how do we collaborate. Because you have to have collaboration, you have to have relationships. You can't go out there, say, we're going to do this, this, and this, and not talk to the people that are involved. You guys saw what happened with the trail people and some other things. So it's something that you have to always have in the front of your mind. Where am I here? Also, I know the decorum thing is a big thing right now, but there's two things way we can look at it. Decorum, and it's not criticism. I'm sorry you guys feel that way, but it's not criticism. What you are experiencing is a desire by your constituents to be part of the conversation. And when you don't have a conversation, they're going to convert any way that they can. Now, some of you get this. You know, you guys have got a lot to learn, you're new, but politicians have got to have thick skin. I've been involved in a lot of different projects where somebody's going to tell you you're an SOB. You can say, okay, would you like to go to lunch? These are the things that you have to understand, that it's important for a city, especially like Trinidad, which has an iffy reputation on some things, that you've got to be out there in front of everybody. All right, let's just take the trail, for example. I don't know how it leaked out to those individuals, but who was the bad guys? You guys. Because you didn't communicate. All right? The deal with the river visioning. Who messed that up with GOCO? It was whoever you had put in charge of trying to get that money out there. You did not follow through on the relationships that you needed to have with the people involved. We've got to do that. It's important. The city is too important to just say, okay, well, everybody's ragging on us, they don't like us. No, they want to have a conversation with you. These people voted for you. Everybody here wants to see this town go to its highest pinnacle. Nobody's turning anything else down. We want it to work. 1 minute. Damn, I'm just about to run out. All right, what else have I got? How about them cubbies? All right. Council members, really, really get out there and visit. If somebody is taking you to task, what that is somebody's asking you a question. Why this? Why that? You don't know what you're doing. You know, a lot of the things I've seen out of these end results on these tapes, you're bashing the citizens more than they bashed you. That's not right. You have to relate. You have to talk. Everybody out here is willing to work their butts off to make this a better place. I've been doing it for 30 years. You've all been doing it since you've been here. So let's please stop the finger pointing and start saying, all right, you got a problem with that? Complain all you want, Mr. Griego. What's your solution? We did that with Trinidad Roundtable. Very successful. Think about it. Incorporate it and go Cubbies.
Pat Howlett?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff. I appreciate the topic of decorum and respect coming up. I also watch all the videos on Channel 71 and appreciate what Tom does there and the city makes that available. In the last meeting, and this, I agree with Councilwoman Griego, the mayor and the city attorney, that proper decorum and respect for these chambers is mandatory with attendance. I'm not for people clapping, cheering, booing, or making comments from the public seats. If you want to attend a council meeting and have your voice heard, sign up for your 5 minutes. If you attend as an interested citizen, listen respectfully. I'm an ex-military guy, and this is how I kind of come to things. I agree with both Councilwoman Ogletree that more involvement of the citizens is a good thing. and also with Councilman Williamson, that we should do everything we can to stop the national divisiveness at the doorsteps of Trinidad. I want to thank the city manager for his service. Thank you, Mike. I look forward to working with you, and I value city staff. Respect, however, is a two-way street, and in the long run, earned. Marico, people leave the council meetings because they are not on council. Each citizen has up to 5 minutes of time to communicate with their representatives, and via them, those employed to serve the community. The meetings are videotaped, so anyone who attends or doesn't attend has the ability to watch the last 15 minutes to hear the mayor, council manager, and attorney comments, usually within a day or two after the meeting. And I appreciate Channel 71. Since there will be no opportunity to rebut or address anything said in the last 15 minutes, it's best for folks to clear the room once they've finished. I'm more for a full room at the beginning of every meeting that empties than an empty room at the beginning. This is a good thing, this participation. Leaving after one's 5 minutes doesn't show a lack of interest or commitment. It shows the democratic process at work. You can't do this in the majority of the world. That's our free speech at work. In the last meeting, Howard Lackey shared there's local expertise and stakeholders available to assist the city with enhancing the river. The closing comments went into how he didn't understand the process of contract bidding and grants. He does. His 5 minutes shared sometimes that the city doesn't have to put out a contract or an RFP. Things can be done completely using local talent and expertise with reduced cost, and we have local organizations here to help obtain grants, and that's a good thing. Juan De La Roca, one of the reasons that Lifetime Fitness and gravel grinding is in this area, and his advocacy predates any staff involvement. The response in the last 15 minutes to him was how, if you only knew what I know about the citizen, but I can't share with you, you'd have a different opinion of the citizen. This really had nothing to do with this question regarding commitment to outdoor recreation. My 5 minutes was about the 2017 comprehensive plan. It was boiled down to he doesn't understand that things have changed since 2019. Here's the thing, the comprehensive plan addresses that, allows for it to be updates, encourages it to be updated, but it's a guideline, and I believe it should be followed. Members of the public brought forth the idea of a trail from downtown to the top of Fisher's Peak. No one said anything about eminent domain or not respecting other property rights, and somehow the message got back to landowners instead. That message got back instead of the start of an open conversation and communication. I encourage all citizens and the council to watch the last 15 minutes of the last 5 meetings. See what's really being communicated to the public. Many times it's not mutually respectful. Lastly, in the last council meeting, and what should have been the city attorney's report, the city attorney shared how in a previous life he was an arguer, had a hard time controlling his passion, and that he saw his job as the protector of the mayor, council, and staff against public comment. If you would refer to City Charter Chapter 7.2, where the city attorney's function is specifically outlined, that's not his function. I have other issues with the city attorney, but I have no vendetta with the city attorney.
1 minute, sir.
I personally like him and asked him to visit about some of these issues months ago and was refused. We have a problem trying to get with folks and communicate with them. Not with most of you folks. I met with Karen and met with Eli. The mayor's been awesome to connect with, as you guys. But there is a problem in communication still. If I asked a citizen of Raton, Walsenburg, Pueblo, or any city who their city attorney was, they would not have the slightest idea, and that's a good thing. She or he would not be the lead story twice a month. She or he would not be at war with many of its citizens. I see this as our main point of community division and would encourage any city attorney to focus on the law and not his or her opinion or agenda. That's for the elected body. I would like a higher level of communication and respect and decorum in the last 15 minutes of the meetings. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Scott Zeachus? Okay. Scratch that. Daryl Weaver?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I was happy to learn about the council's work session and the time that the council put in to consider the issue of decorum at city council meetings. It made me happy because the fact that council is putting its time and energy into tone policing the people who come here to address you clearly means that all of Trinidad's challenges are solved. Outdoor rec, outdoor dining, we got that covered. Affordable housing and downtown parking. Thrilled to know that we don't have to worry about that anymore. The fact that this city wants to hike utility rates when more than 20% of this town lives below the poverty line, nothing to talk about there. The fact that the bottom is about to fall out of our marijuana sales, nothing to talk about. What we really need to focus on is how people talk at city council. And I'm so grateful that all of these problems have been solved so that we can focus on the real issue, which is the ego and feelings of the council members. I'm glad that that's our most pressing issue. I have been here for the past few council meetings that were discussed at the work session. I heard the comments. Nobody called you names. Nobody threatened you. Nobody used profanity towards you. Nobody booed you or any of the speakers. There was about 3 seconds of polite applause after people spoke. One of you said in the work session that you don't care whose feelings you hurt, but you sure care an awful lot if somebody hurts yours. And it seems that what hurts your feelings is that people dare to criticize the job that you're doing. None of these comments are personal attacks. Nobody here has any personal beef with any of you. For those of you on the dais, there are some of you that I like very much, and there are some of you that I don't know. And it's frankly a little bit disturbing that what you take from the recent comments is not anything productive, not any new ideas or new perspectives to talk about, but simply a personal affront that has to be quelled. And I hate to break it to you, but public criticism is an occupational hazard of elected office. And if you're so deeply affected by public criticism, you've got two options. Do your job a little differently, or maybe this isn't the job for you. What was not discussed at this work session was the disrespect and inappropriate tone shown by some of you on the days in response to some of this criticism. The responses of some of you are to belittle people, to mock them and to dismiss them, say that they don't understand things, and laugh at them as having too little to do. Mr. Mayor, I remember recently that you and Ms. Elliott Lopez had a disagreement about something that she believed you had said to some folks from the Rad Dirt Fest. You yelled at her and you shook your finger at her. How hard would it have been to simply say, wow, I'm so sorry that that's what you took from that. That is not what I meant. Please let me talk to the folks at the Dirt Fest and clear this up and tell them what I meant to say. Respect, as Mr. Howlett said, is a two-way street. You cannot demand it of your constituents and then refuse to extend them any respect in return. We are your constituents, not your subjects. With great power comes great responsibility. I'm not a Spider-Man fan, but that always stuck out at me. You all up there have a lot of power, and your responsibility is to listen to the input that you get from this community. All the members of this community, not just the ones who agree with you, and especially the ones that don't. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Goodall.
Yeah, you thought y'all didn't have to put up my crap no more, did you? How are y'all this evening? Thank y'all for the opportunity to stand up here and speak. I feel as since I've left council, we've definitely been lacking and filled with communication between city council and the marijuana industry. So I figured I would show up and bring y'all up to date on something that's been happening since the legalization in New Mexico. Opening weekend, sales were down ranging between 18 to 15% at dispensaries. That's an astounding number. Since that opening weekend, some businesses have bounced back to only 18% down on sales. Some are still at 30% or above. When you look at our amount of sales, when I left council around 4.2 million a year, you're talking about losing over $1 million in tax revenue. The marijuana industry feels that the city council has basically turned their back on them, and they've been appreciative of the money that has been taken and used to do so much good in this community, and the favor has not been returned in helping them maintain their business. Some of the areas that they brought up that they feel would help is through the tourism board billboards. Couldn't you imagine coming across New Mexico and seeing a billboard the grass is always greener in Colorado. Just something that got popped in my head, but something on billboards promoting the marijuana business in Colorado they feel would help. Some sort of venue on private property to allow outdoor consumption in 420 events, stuff like this, to make Colorado, Trinidad, Colorado, a destination for tourism marijuana, because if they feel if they do not get a tourism aspect, they're going to continue to lose business. Also, consumption clubs is still something that's always talked about, a safe place for people to go to have a place to consume marijuana besides on our streets, at the Trinidad Lake State Park, in our city parks, and anywhere else. We're on High Street. I mean, how many people come here to buy marijuana and have to go to High Street and sit and park their car and get high? They need a place where they can go and consume their marijuana in a safe atmosphere. Trinidad must become a tourism destination for marijuana if our shops are going to continue to thrive and we're not going to continue to lose revenue. About 4 years ago, we seen a major boom in commercial grows, and the price of marijuana at a commercial wholesale price dropped to around $500 a pound. A lot of commercial grows went out of business. They were bought back up, and we're experiencing right now on the wholesale level around $500 a pound. 90% of those wholesale grows that opened up are in the process of closing down. They're all for sale again. We're going to see the price of marijuana on a wholesale level go back up. We're going to see the smaller mom and pop shops in town with the decreased sales because of marijuana's legalization and higher wholesale prices are going to start closing down. There are close to 7 shops in this town that are up for sale. There are sites, if you go on a regular real estate site, you won't see this, but there are sites for marijuana businesses that are up for sale. Anyone can log into those, and you can see the amount of shops and who is for sale. Canico, surprisingly, is one of the shops that are up, and they're up there, first in, number 1 in sales most of the time. They do very well. They're preparing for the exodus out of this community if this community will not support them. It is y'all's duty to return the favor to them that they have given to this city to produce so much money to help us with purchases, space to create, Fisher's Peak, so many other projects, y'all know what they are, too many to mention, that marijuana money was used. Extra police officers, all the vehicles in this town that have been bought, equipment for the dump, I mean, so much different stuff that has been, marijuana money has been used for. It's time to return that favor to this industry to see what you can do to help them out, to show your appreciation and to try to keep them in business. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You bet. Good to see y'all.
On to La Roca.
Good to see y'all. Out of here, that's my 5 minutes.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Following up from the last meeting, and talking about respect, it's something that I take very seriously. It's something that has gone into talking about relationships that I've ever had with anyone, any place that I've ever lived, any business arrangement I've ever had. I believe when integrity is on the line, it's about doing what you say you're going to do. And since the beginning that I've gotten here, I have been committed to developing an outdoor recreation economy in this city. I've brought quite a number of people over the last several years to give this place eyeballs. It's something that has opened up opportunities for not only myself, but other people in the community, restaurants, lodging places, dispensaries. A lot of people have been coming here because they're finding themselves intrigued as to what's going on in Trinidad. And it's through the outdoor recreation that we're going to be able to diversify our economy. We are obviously dealing with something that's very difficult right now with the loss of marijuana. But one thing that was said was that if there was another side of me that people knew about, then they would think very differently. And that's wrong. And the reason why it's wrong is because I don't go out and do anything that wouldn't best represent myself, my friends, my community, my family. So what I'm going to share here, I'm going to leave, and I'm hoping everybody gets a copy of it here, is documentation that for the last 5 years, the mayor has worked against development of an outdoor recreation economy. I've been at it for 5 years. I'm doing really great work. And to hear that if people knew something about me, that somehow that would be a bad thing. So I would like for everybody to read all of this. There's a ton of really good documentation that demonstrates that somebody has been working against me the whole time. And it's really unfortunate because it's really good stuff. And it's going to be benefit for everybody here. And so I'm hoping as you read through, you rethink about what a relationship myself looks like with the city, what it looks like from an outdoor recreation economy. I'm not going away. I'm going to continue to do really great work. People are going to be really happy about some of the stuff I will continue to produce. But the idea of a relationship has to change for sure. So I would like to leave this with you to print out and give to each member of council. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lopez?
I made a couple of printouts, but my printer ran out of ink. I'm sorry, so you guys are going to have to share it. Try to get you guys the colored ones before the printer ran out of ink. Hello, Mayor and City Council. I would like to take my time tonight educating on the benefits of multi-use trails in the community. There are so many added benefits that I do not have time to touch on many of them, so I'd like to talk about one benefit in particular, the economic benefit of trails. There are many studies that demonstrate that trails have a huge economic benefits. A 1979 study of property values in Boulder, Colorado, noted that housing prices declined an average of $4.20 per foot from the distance they were from the Greenbelt Trail. In one neighborhood, this figure was $10.20 for each foot of distance. The same study determined that other variables bring equal and average value of property adjacent to the Greenbelt would be 32% higher than those that are 3,200 feet away. The same study revealed that the aggregate property value in one Boulder neighborhood was approximately $5.4 million greater had there been no Greenbelt Trail. This results to $500,000 in additional property tax annually. The purchase price of this Greenbelt was approximately $1.5 million, thus the potential increase in property tax alone would recover the initial cost in just 3 years. There are many studies that continue to prove that cities with multi-use trails increase property values and thus tax revenue. When it comes to tourism trails, I'd like to discuss Manitou Springs' famous incline trail that brings roughly 70,000 visitors just to complete a 1-mile trail. Granted, it's a really tough trail. The city collects $10 per car for parking at the trailhead. Manitou City's budget shows that they collect nearly $1 million in parking revenue every year from just the trailhead alone. A study in Whitefish, Montana shows that the Whitefish Trail contributes to $6.4 million in annual spending by visitors who come and enjoy the trail and locals who purchase rent outdoor gear and local stores. Spending by visitors who use the Whitefish Trail translates to 68 additional jobs within that community and $1.9 million in income for the Whitefish community. Please look at the printout of proposed trails from the 2015 Greenway Master Plan. This plan outlines some amazing trails that would benefit our community in so many ways. I really suggest we start with incorporating the Reservoir Hill first. It's city property, it'd be easy to do. I do not understand why the city is actively working against increasing trails in Trinidad. As a result, this states the city does not want this added economic benefit of trails. In essence, the city council does not want property values to increase. City council does not want the increased revenue for the city. City doesn't want increased tourism and tax revenue that the trail system would provide. Please reconsider your position and work on trails. And below is my sources for all that information. We had this wonderful work meeting on April 5th where we really didn't get to talk that much about the trails and the proposed ones that people in the community want to build. And I would really like for you guys to reopen this conversation and let's start in the city first. Be easy to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a copy of that for the record? please?
Oh, I got you right here.
Oh, good, thank you. If you'll please give it to
Yeah,
me.
thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Mr. Carlos Lopez.
Good evening, Council. I'm here to bring us up to snuff a little bit about ARPA. So I have some documents here. I guess.
Thank you, Heiko.
I have enough for every. I think there's 2. And you would just be so kind as to pass those around. 6:35. All right. So the email that I've given to you is basically a thread from previous conversations from February 22nd to be precise. When I was inquiring as to what's been going on, I found out at that point in time that Mr. Dean Duran had been gone for 3 weeks. I looked into it. I felt that it was a little dismissive that, Mr. Rick Rigel had already been notified about this, but yet me being the only ARPA board member was not. And I just wanted to demonstrate the fact that Mr. Rico and also Mayor Pro Tem Aaron Ogletree was also notified in this email thread, and yet the only one that came back to me was Ms. Audrey Garrett, which I appreciate, but yet still I have not been aware of anything, and to be told that that night they were having a work session pertaining to a discussion about a future board member, and I wasn't invited, well, I was a bit perturbed that I wouldn't be able to have my input on it. I was informed that Mr. Valentine could handle it, and I'm sure he possibly did, but yet still being the only other board member, it in that moment felt a bit of a slight. But I digress. I want to let you know what I'm doing with ARPA right now. Basically, we're having our next meeting next Thursday, and I'm going to be attending the National the Power Conference for all of these associations out in Nashville, Tennessee. That's where the location is. Mr. Valentine was gracious enough to help me out with procuring a flight. ARPA has been good enough to pay for my lodging and my conference kind of registration fees, etc. I will be covering all my other debts and meals, etc., that are incurred. But I want to let you know that that is what I'm going to do to be beneficial as a good ARPA board member. But I would like to know, do we have another ARPA board member at this point in time?
Well, I can't really say, because like I said, this is public comment time. And
well, then I would appreciate if you would respectfully get back to me on certain things.
Okay.
I think that comes back to the conversation earlier where we don't get this communication. I sent everyone an email 2 weeks ago, and no one responded. So as a result, I put it in the paper. I think when you want decorum from folks, and I get it, you guys are in the tough seat. It's not always fun, but we still need to communicate with those who are trying to work with us. And when we don't reach back out, that is a bit of a, well, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Makes one who takes the time to put these things out there and feel that they're not important. So here I am again to discuss the reason why I brought this email before you, because no one other than Ms. Garrett chose to respond back to me. So I do agree with the fact that we want decorum in here, but we want it to be a two-way street. Amongst yourselves as well. Last meeting you guys had during the council comments, a couple of you were interrupted by a couple other council members. That's not decorum for yourselves either. Thank you for your time. I look forward to finding out who is going to be my next partner. And I will be on the board for the full 4 years. Thank you.
thank you. Mr. Zeitchis, you weren't here when I called you, but come forward if you wish.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I typed out some things here to say, and quite conflicted. So for those that don't know, it's been 134 days since the city council has issued has awarded my business the liquor license.
Mr. Zeitchis, would you please address council on this?
Sure, I'm sorry. There's that stage. I'm just trying to, but yes, sir. So 134 days, still no liquor license. We've reviewed the details legally, why it should be issued and why it's not. We've looked at the city charter, which now I'm really starting to believe that's where the problem is. That the city charter needs to be updated, needs to be clarified. So just to go back a little bit here. On April 5th, I attended city council meeting again to update the city council and show continuing frustration. The liquor license has still not been issued. I state that if the liquor license is not going to be issued, to send a letter stating why and give me a refund. Well, I went back and I looked at emails. The clerk specifically said, if the license is not approved, you cannot get a refund. Well, the license was approved by council. It just hasn't been issued. I asked, give me a letter stating why it's not being issued and give me a full refund, including the portion that the city took, whether it goes to the state or anybody else. It's quite interesting to sit in the audience and hear stories about how the marijuana tax money is leaving the community. Alcohol provides a very similar revenue stream. But for some reason, the city doesn't want to issue mine, even though it's been approved. That's kind of puzzling to me. Councilman Shu, thank you for coming to see me. I did want to go back, Ms. Griego, or Councilwoman Griego, to clarify that, because I did go back, even though there are times when I don't stay here throughout the meeting. And again, I apologize for being late today, dinner hour, and as you can imagine, I'm a bit busy. I wanted to go back and clarify that point, that I was stating the liquor license was approved, it just isn't being issued. I've clarified that according to the city charter, y'all approve it, it goes to his desk, and the city manager sees that it gets done. Presumably maybe it needs to be further delineated or laid out what those terms are. There was recently an interest in sitting down and sorting this out and seeing if we could come to the table on an agreement. I'm all for it. However, then somebody got wind of it and said, no, Mr. Zeitches has started a lawsuit. Anybody that looks at that document that I submitted during the last council meeting knows, in fact, I have not done that. I've gone as far and as long as I can to give this organization and the city of Trinidad to sort this out.
1 minute.
But now I understand it's gone to another law firm, so we'll see how that plays out. Again, thank you for trying. In your spare time, look at the disadvantages of home rule government. There you will find the single greatest disadvantage of a home rule government: abuse of power. And this is what I have said from the get-go is the problem with me not getting. I'm only an example. I know there are many other cases of this where the rules pertain to some and not to all, where local city officials use their position to electively decide who and where and against whom they can use the power of their position to unevenly apply rule over the citizens of the community. That, by definition, it's not just politics. It's abuse of power, and there is a difference. Thank you for your time. I'll see you in the next council meeting.
Thank you. On to item 4A, Noah's Ark update, Mr. Quistner.
Hello. This isn't going to be as lively as everything else so far, but I'll try to give you a good update of what's going on with Noah's Ark. You probably thought I was coming with a Parks and Rec report, but those days are done. So more on that in a moment. It's probably not very often that one of your meetings starts off with a quote from Mahatma Gandhi, but that's what I'm going to do. The greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. So we're doing a pretty good job of it here in Trinidad. And the first order of business is to thank you, all of the council, for coming to the table and building what is a beautiful state-of-the-art building for Noah's Ark. It is fabulous. It is now our job in Noah's Ark to match that organization to the building. So we've got our work cut out for us, but we're on task for that. Some of you might remember I don't know how long, I think a lot of you have been here long enough to know this, 23 years ago, when a few women decided they were going to start Noah's Ark. There was no building, there was just a will to help the animals here. And they did that. And now look where we are. We've got a fabulous new building, a staff of 8 people, and a thrift store that's supporting it, and a community that supports this organization. The other part of this is that, yes, we're thanking you, but Noah's Ark is actually serving this community hugely. We are serving a need in this community to help the animals and the people that own them. So, what am I doing here? Well, I'm just a temporary interim director. We had a long-term director, Laurel Young, who was very dedicated at her job. She is no longer there, so the board asked me to fill in for this interim time while they can hire an executive director. So, partly why I'm here is to let you know that there is that opening, and if you know of people who would be a good candidate, I'm just doing this for a couple of months to help out. So what goes on down at Noah's Ark? I think it's important, I don't know how long it's been since you've gotten a report about Noah's Ark, but it's important to have at least a little bit of an idea of what we do. Currently there's 40 cats and 33 dogs down there. It's quite a bit. And every day somebody's dropping off another unwanted animal. People drop off boxes of kittens in front of the building. Not cool. We're just running out of space. So an animal arrives, they get vaccinated, they get spayed or neutered, and we keep them healthy and clean. We feed them. Those cages are cleaned out every day. I'm doing it myself, cleaning out dog poop in the cages. This is what an executive director gets to do. We have volunteers who come to walk the dogs. We have foster care parents. We have volunteers who come in and help keep the place running. It's all hands on deck. And it's just important for you to know that this is a community service that's going on. The part that makes it all worthwhile for me is to be there when an animal gets its home. And that's a beautiful thing. When we can serve the community that way and these animals are getting a loving new home. So, why do I do this? Well, that's my wife and I have cared about animals all our lives, and this is our way to give back. My mother was on the board of Noah's Ark. My wife was. She still works at the thrift store. We do as much as we can to help the animals. So I'm just telling you these things so you know what's happening down there. Every day of the week, those animals need attention, and we're giving it to them. So what else can be done? We know that there's more things that can happen with Noah's Ark in this community. Spay-neuter is probably the biggest. We're not serving the community well enough right now with spaying and neutering of our animals. There are too many puppies, too many kittens that are still happening out there. So we know that that's a focus. We know education for adults and kids is also important. We know that we can facilitate transfers of animals, especially from New Mexico. There's a lot of excess animals in New Mexico. And during COVID, we were able to get transfers done up to Colorado Springs and Denver to get animals up there where they were really looking for animals. We know that public awareness of our role in the community needs to be shared more, and we're going to work on that. We also know that the feral cats there's a serious problem with feral cats here. I lead bird walks down along the Riverwalk, and there are cats running around everywhere. And we have to address that. We know that. And fundraising. That's probably our biggest focus. And we know we've got to start fundraising in a big way to make sure that we are on a long-term basis taking care of the animals in our community. So those are the things we're doing, what we want to do. And then, of course, there's always something that I'm going to ask for, right? So I have 3 items that I want to bring up to you guys tonight. They're not difficult, but they're important that I bring them to your attention. One of them is that we need to get a trail to the Riverwalk. So there's already a social trail that leads from East Main Street down to the Riverwalk. And the Trinidad Trails Alliance is willing to make that a nice trail if we can get that permission. I've already gone to the county, and we know that the land is owned by the city, so there's no issue there. I've met with Jenny and Bob Just on this subject, and they just wanted to confirm that it was city land before they said that I could do it. And they're also wanting to do a full paved trail in another location that would be the more permanent thing. But right now, we want to just get permission to be able to do a quick trail down to the Riverwalk so that the dogs can be walked in a safe environment. Right now, we're walking dogs up on Gray Creek Road, having to cross Main Street. It's not good for the people or the animals. Okay, so that's number 1, and I don't know what the protocol is for getting an answer back on these things, but I'd love to find out when I'm done. Okay, number 2, we need more kennels. The old building had 13 outdoor kennels for dogs, and the new building has 6. They're really nice 6, but there's only 6. We need to double that to at least 12 for now. I asked Bob about this, and he said, as long as their trucks can still get by, there's no problem with letting us build more. And we're not asking you to build it. We'll fund it. We'll figure out how to do that. But we just need the permission for us to be able to build more kennels along the west side where there currently are kennels. So I've measured it across there. If we add 14 feet of fencing to put more kennels, there's still 24 feet for a roadway. It's plenty for any big truck to get around the building, which is what the need is. So that's number 2. And the last one is one that you've already agreed upon, and that was to pave the parking lot. We have a huge quagmire when we do get rain around here, which has been rare, but it's just a lake of mud, and it's not good. So Bob said, if he hears it from council, he'll do it. So that's what I'm asking, is that you tell him to do it. So those are my 3 requests, and are you able to respond to me now?
Not really much, but I'll tell you what, we'll get you a response.
Okay, all right, perfect. Well, thank you for your time, and we'll keep doing what we do down there to take care of the animals, and hopefully have a new director in place, and they'll be the next ones up to give you a report, okay?
Thank you for your work.
Thank you much.
Item 5, consent agenda approval. Full approval of regular meeting minutes of May 3rd, 2022. Item B, approval of temporary modification of premises request filed by Mon Carmel Health, Wellness and Community Center at 911 Robinson Avenue, July 8th through the 10th in Mon Carmel Festival. And Mr. Ball is not here, but someone else is here to represent. Thank you very much. Item C, approval of the bill for $1,507,472.81. Item D, approval of the payroll May the 14th, 2022 through May the 27th, 2022, in the amount of $431,026.09. Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second. Okay, call the vote.
DeBono?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Item 6, public hearings. 6A, public hearing for consideration of an ordinance granting local landmark designation to the property described as original town site, Block 87, lots 1 through 10 inclusive, Mitchell subdivision, 70 feet by 168 feet, original town site, Block 117, City of Trinidad, Los Angeles County, Fort Wooten Veterans Memorial Square. Hearing is now open. Ms. Hall, are you with us tonight?
She is not. She asked us to be here and she could not.
Okay. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council, staff. We're here for the third time and the second meeting, and we are asking that we become a local landmark for the City of Trinidad.
Anything else, council? You want to add anything, Mr. DeBona?
No, just like I said last meeting, long overdue. I think it's a good thing.
Okay.
Nothing.
Nothing further.
Neither. Okay, thank you for...
Thank you.
was
Anyone in the audience here to speak for or against the ordinance? Hearing none, hearing is now closed. 6A1, second reading of an ordinance granting local landmark designation to the property described as original town site, Block 87, lots 1 through 10 inclusive, Mitchell subdivision, 70 feet by 168 feet, original town site, Block 117, City of Trinidad, Los Angeles County, for Wooten Veterans Memorial Square. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call the vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Good luck and thank you for doing all the work for that project.
Thank you very much.
Looking forward to see great things from it. Thank you very much. Item 7, unfinished business, we have none. Item 8, miscellaneous business. 8A, first reading of an ordinance renaming the North Lake Dam to the James A. Fernandez North Lake Dam and setting a hearing date for consideration of said ordinance to 6 p.m. on June 21st, 2022.
I know. Good lineup right there.
Wow.
Good lineup.
Need someone to introduce, please.
I'll introduce it.
Okay.
I'll introduce it.
Okay, a motion? Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I guess you're here for the discussion part of this.
I am. Good evening. Linda B. Hill here, for those of you that may not know who I am. Before beginning and telling you a little bit about Jim, we'd like to first acknowledge and recognize former Councilwoman Carol Bolton, who I believe is in the audience. Will you stand up a little bit? Carol Bolton. For previously petitioning the renaming of North Lake Dam. However, due to policy language, the petition failed. We'd also like to acknowledge current Councilman Frank Shu for his persistence in ensuring that this effort was carried out to honor Jim. I want to tell you a little bit, I don't know if everybody knew Jim, but James A. Fernandez worked for the City of Trinidad for 42 years. He began as a draftsman and then later became the utility superintendent. Jim directed 3 of the 4 city-owned utilities, gas, sewer, and water. He always ensured that all 3 utilities remained in compliance with state and federal regulations. Jim held multiple certifications with the Colorado Operator Certification Board in both water and wastewater, as well as NACE, the acronym. It stands for National Association of Corrosion Engineers. Anyone who had the pleasure of knowing Jim knows what an intelligent, kind, and generous man he was, and how truly dedicated he was to Trinidad and the surrounding community. Jim was a wonderful person who took so much pride in his work by always striving to make a difference for future generations of this community.
Audrey Garrett, and just for clarification, we are here as the petitioners for this matter. Audrey Garrett as a citizen, Mark B. Hill as a citizen, Steve Carroll and Linda B. Hill all as citizens. So some of the general principles And the guidelines, the planning commissioners and you, city council, are to consider are through the following questions. Will the name have historical, cultural, or social significance for generations to come? Our answer is yes, even if people did not know Mr. Fernandez, his work for the community was significant and will be for future generations. The next question, will the name engender a strong and positive image? The name will engender a strong and positive image to all of the people who have known Mr. Fernandez and those who have worked with and for him. Anyone who had the pleasure of knowing him knows he was a kind, generous, and brilliant man. He was a brilliant man, and how very dedicated he was to Trinidad and the surrounding community. Next question, will the name memorialize or commemorate people, places, or events that are of enduring importance to the community or the nation? Mr. Fernandez is of enduring importance to the community and to the nation. He was a Vietnam veteran. He returned to Trinidad and gave his heart to this community in so many ways. Will the name engender significant ties of friendship and mutual recognition and support within the community or with those outside of the community? Jim was everyone's friend and would be the first to recognize others before himself. He was well known and respected in the community and among his utility peers outside of the community. Will the name be identified with some major achievement or the advancement of the public good within the community? The name will recognize the individual responsible for ensuring the advancement of the public good within the community by his work to preserve and protect the city's water resources, and that answer is specific to this location, the North Lake Dam. Will the name be particularly suitable for the public building, park, or facility based upon its location or history? The North Lake Dam project was what Mr. Fernandez deemed to be his greatest achievement. Will the name have symbolic value that transcends its ordinary meaning or use and enhances the character and identity of the public building, park, or public facility? So North Lake Dam versus the James A. Fernandez North Lake Dam. The James A. Fernandez North Lake Dam will cause the average citizen to inquire why the dam was named after this individual. It will personalize an asset, naming it in honor of a person who made his work very personal to him, knowing that he was making a difference for the future generations of the community. So the category under which this petition was submitted was exceptional individuals or entities, defined as a desire to recognize an exceptional individual or entity that has been influential in the cultural, political, economic, or social life of the city, which may occasionally result in a proposal to name or rename a public building, park, or public facility. The guidelines under which the consideration needs to be had is timing. So the timing for that category is after the individual is deceased and the individual's significance and good reputation have been secured in the history and lore of the city. Unfortunately, we lost Jim recently. This is the second time this request has been made. The first was prior to his passing, and the Planning Commission, accordingly, because of policy language, could not recommend it. The second item under the guidelines is priority. And so significant and enduring contributions to the city is first under the priority.
I'm Mark Behill, the Utility Water Director. First, I'd like to say I had the pleasure of working under Jim Fernandez since 1990 when I started here, so I got to know Jim for quite some time. He accomplished many things, but just to point out a few in my tenure. He installed our first SCADA system in approximately 1989, and that communication keeps our tanks full until the pump's going to kick on in order to keep our water supply for fire flow and consumption. The second, he did replace all the valves at Mining Lake Dam. I'm not sure when the dam was built, but we used to go up and exercise those valves until they became unoperational. So he had Inland Marine come in and we replaced all those the valves in the dam in Mining Lake. As you know, Mining Lake is our secondary water source. So now we can actually run water from Monument Lake or North Lake, so we can do either or now. So he made sure that happened. As always said, it was our backup system. It is our backup system. He made sure it happens. So that is now functional. He also had the new Allendale water storage tank installed, which is a 1.5 million gallon water storage tank. It services a different pressure zone. It services the south end of Trinidad, which would include Allendale, Tequilas, Holiday Inn, Walmart's, Starkville, Santa Fe Trail Ranch. So now they're ensured to have adequate water pressure and water for fire flow demand out there. So that was a big upgrade to that system. The one thing Jim really did work diligently on was about ensuring the city had ample water rights. And he always made sure they were very well protected. And those are some of his highlights that I've seen happen, among many others, but just like to recognize him on those.
Thank you.
Steve Creel, Gas Utility Director. I started working here under Jim in 1989, and he was great to work for. He taught me a lot of stuff, and one thing Jim was he was a leader of Jim, and he taught me how to kind of follow in his footsteps at that. So I'm really thankful for him for that. In the early 90s, the state and the federal government made a law that all gas systems had to have an operation and maintenance manual and a plan. Jim developed that. He was real adequate about making sure that that was followed and done. It was a big process as I see it now. I wasn't involved in it at the time, but looking back on it now, we're still using that plan today, and they had a lot of time and a lot of effort into developing that. So that was really good. Another thing that he did was he set up the city of Trinidad with natural gas storage, which since he done that, I don't know exactly when that was set up, but since he did that, that saved the city millions of dollars in natural gas prices, especially in February of last year, 2021. We had what is deemed the extreme weather event, and we were able to use a lot of our gas out of the storage, which saved the citizens a lot of money. Other cities had to borrow money and pass that on to the citizens. They're still trying to recover from that event. I know there's a few cities here that are paying a lot more price for their gas just to recover the price of what happened in that event. And we were fortunate with Jim Fernandez's foresight and seeing that we needed to invest in storage. So that saved the city millions of dollars. Jim also worked really tirelessly on getting the gas department and the water department new buildings. He got us new updated offices and storage warehouses. Before that, we had our equipment scattered all over town, and all our equipment was outside. We had no indoor storage, and I know he worked real hard on getting that. He got that all taken care of. He also designed and developed the gas line going all the way up to exit 11 with the new Walmart and the Holiday Inn, the old Holiday Inn, which is the Quality Inn now. He got gas, water, and sewer up there and developed all that. He did that. He also designed and got the utilities in the new Elm Street project, where we got him out of private property that they had been running through for years and years. We got him moved into what is now the Elm Street. It was railroad right away. And he designed that and worked a lot on the development of that and how we got we have a high pressure and a low pressure gas line going through there. So we got that out of private property and put that in the street right away. And I just loved working for Jim. He was a good guy. I've learned a lot from him, and hopefully I can kind of fill his shoes a little bit, but I won't come close, I know that. Thank you.
Any questions from council, Mr. Bono?
No, I just think this is just a sure thing. I've known Jim for a long time, and such a good man, such a great leader, and how could you not have that named after him? I just believe it's a go.
I didn't have the good fortune to work with Mr. Fernandez, but my husband was on city council at the time that he was, and he was amazed at what the man did for the city of Trinidad. I talked to Mr. Valentine today. We were talking about qualifications for a job. And there's only so much you can learn out of a textbook. But the man was a good, solid, moral man, and his work ethic was beyond approach. I mean, he was a really good guy. The only thing I can say bad about him, every Christmas he'd come into the office and sell me 25 pounds of navel oranges. It was like clockwork. But it would be an honor to do this for Mr. Fernandez.
Well, I don't have to say anything. I graduated with Jim. I went to school with him. I worked with him out in the city for over 20 years, and I think it was well overdone. I wish we could have did it when Jim was alive, but I think this is a great thing, and I think this is really something that the city of Trinidad owes him for all the work and precipitation. I mean, everything that he did for us. And like I say, he was a heck of a guy.
I agree. I've never met Jim. I'm probably a little bit younger than him. But is his family members here tonight?
Yes.
Well, congratulations to you guys, and I'm glad everybody's speaking highly of Jim, and I hope this goes through.
Listening to the list of accomplishments, it's really impressive. I didn't have the privilege of knowing him personally, but I did know who he was. I just wanted to comment. I think it'll be a great honor to be able to do that, and the legacy part. I think even if it was just the storage purchase for Trinidad, that's a huge legacy that's going to be felt in Trinidad for years to come, and the impact of that is lost on most people. I mean, it's a huge achievement. So I think it's a great honor to be able to do that.
You know, you petitioners that bring this forward, I want to thank you, the entire city council. And I think you guys worked for him or with him for so many years. You recognize what his capabilities were, what he did, and his legacy that will be enduring, especially through this renaming of the North Lake Dam to Jim Fernandez North Lake Dam. His family here should be very proud of him for what he did, and for a lot of the stuff that he did. We're able to drink water, flush our toilets, keep warm in the wintertime.
Right.
So he had some foresight, which, that's what we really need in this world, people with some foresight. But I want to thank you for bringing this forward to us, and it'll be an honor for us, City Council, to be able to do this for you. So thank you for bringing that petition forward.
One last thing, Mayor. So after your roll call vote this evening, if approved, the property will be posted for 30 days, and you'll consider it formally again, second meeting in June.
Correct. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Great job. Thank you.
Call vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Item 8B, HGAC by interlocal contract for cooperative purchasing. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion, Ms. Garrett. She went away
downstairs.
Mr. Valentine, you want to come forward?
Sure, Mayor, and we also have Chief Backrack here. In researching the fire truck that council approved to go after, rather than writing 75 pages of specs and such, we were able to contact HGAC Corporation, which, as you can see in the back, there's over 50 communities and counties in the state that utilize this. It's a purchasing type mechanism that they do, similar to the state award bids. So we would have to enter into an agreement to utilize them, and that's what this is before you. Chief, would you like to add to that?
Good evening. Sorry, I'm 30 out of call before I came here. Mr. Mayor, council members. So this that we're trying to use is for the urban interface engine, and that they're part of this HGAC buy program. And then HGAC, products and services are contracted after being subjected to either a competitive bid or competitive proposal process or RFP. Contracts are blanket type, usually for a term of 2 to 3 years. So they've already vetted these people and built contracts with them for these engines that we're looking for. And the company that we want to buy the engine from is on contract with these folks. There's no annual membership dues to this. All we have to do is sign up to be a part of them, so it doesn't cost us anything to be a part of them. Us as a government agency, we just have access to this. They've been in business doing this for 40 years, and there's over 6,000 local governments across the United States, and I understand Audrey gave you a list of those government entities that are in Colorado using this program. They also offer, besides emergency services vehicles, they offer some contracts on like loaders and stuff for the dump and public works and stuff like that. So we may see some benefit joining this group on that side of the fence as well, not just on the emergency services side. They do police cars, communication equipment, stuff like that.
Okay. Questions from council, Mr. DeBono?
Dave, you said these were put out to bid. How many bids were?
So this company, this Houston government, Galveston company, I don't know how many bids they put out and requests for proposals they put out, but it's more than 3, and they actually say on their website that certain items they would require 3 bids, but on our truck that we're looking at, they've already vetted that, got their requests for proposals, and signed contracts with them. And looking at the prices on their website, from what the vendors in Denver were telling me, they're probably about $50,000 cheaper contract-wise going through this company than going through just a fire engine company out of Denver.
So we've never dealt with this company before?
Not that I know of. This is the first I've heard. We deal with Sourcewell. We already are a member of Sourcewell. This is kind of another thing like Sourcewell. So you have Sourcewell, which I'm looking at our structural engine on the Sourcewell side of things. But on the urban interface, the Type 3 engine, this company does a lot for CAL FIRE. They build all of their Type 3 engines. And so they have a history building Type 3 engines, which I kind of like, versus Denver, Mile High, Front Range. They're more on the Type 1 or the structural engine building platform, if that makes sense. This BME Boise, they're out of Boise, Idaho, but that's kind of their forte is wildland fire trucks.
Do they charge a fee for use of their services?
You know, they have not told me that yet. I know on the Sourcewell side that they are telling us we have a fee, but this company that I'm dealing with, they have not. And I was supposed to have those prices tonight, and they haven't came in yet. So once I know, I'll bring that back to council and let you know about it.
No questions. I think it'd be a good deal if we could get that.
Is this company, was it it's with HGACB?
Yeah, it's Houston Galveston Area Council.
Is this the equipment you need going through this particular company? Or?
It is. That wildland urban interface engine, this is the piece of equipment that I needed. And we've researched trucks, and we actually went and saw this actual truck up north. I mean, we really put some interest into this and some research into this to make sure that we're getting the truck that will serve our purposes the best.
And will it fit into the infrastructure you already have at the department?
Yes, sir. And then we're actually going to put a bigger pump on this truck, that this company is able to do for us. So our ISO, our insurance classification that affects all commercial rates, we'll be able to utilize this truck to help us maintain that number 3 ISO rating that we have currently.
No questions, Chief.
Don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Call vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Item C, first reading of an ordinance amending section 7-52 of Article 8, purchases of Chapter 7, Finance and Taxation regarding formal bids and setting a public hearing at 6 p.m. on June the 7th, 2022 for consideration of said ordinance. Need someone to introduce?
I'll introduce.
Need a motion?
I'll make the motion for it.
Any second?
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Valentine, Ms. Garrett usually is on the list. Ms. Garrett, are you wanting to, can you give us information on this, please?
Sure. This ties back to the item that City Council previously discussed, whereby our fire chief is interested in using HGAC buys in order to purchase his fire truck. And current language in our ordinance precludes him from doing that because it currently requires formal bids to be had by the City of Trinidad rather than us being able to use the purchasing cooperative agency. And so the other thing that this ordinance will do, so if approved, this ordinance will allow a purchase in excess of $50,000 through a purchasing cooperative with City Council's approval, as every purchase is with City Council's approval, over $50,000. And it will also allow, for instance, multiple purchases at one time of, for instance, police vehicles or light-duty trucks or what have you, that in aggregate exceed $50,000. So that again, we're not having to recreate the wheel by creating our own specifications, which largely we borrow from other communities and hope to get exactly correct. The way that this would be handled is essentially the same way it would be handled for informal bids, except the council will still be the final approver on purchases in excess of $50,000.
Okay. Any questions from council, Mr. DeBono?
No.
Here.
No, sir. No questions.
Don't have any questions.
Any questions? Don't have any questions either? Thank you. Call vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. On item 9, council reports, starting with Mr. DeBono.
Well, the Los Angeles County Veterans Council, they're going to have a Memorial Day breakfast, Memorial Day Monday from 7 to 10 a.m., sponsored by McDonald's, and everyone is welcome. Bill, you want to further comment on that? Or?
All veterans and their families.
Their families.
Free of charge. First responders, police departments and their families free of charge. Anybody can come in. We'll have plenty of food, and again, Leif Allen and his organization are sponsoring.
And I went to see the new helicopter, the Lifeline helicopter that the Mount San Rafael Hospital has now acquired. Pretty impressive. It's well needed and a certain asset, great asset to the community.
Great.
Yeah.
They're expanding their services.
Yes, yes.
That's great.
Don't have much, not anything exciting. I went to the Cinco de Mayo celebration downtown the weekend right around Cinco de Mayo. Go figure. Yeah, May 7th this year. But I had a chance to talk to Mike and Yolanda Romero, and they wanted me to tell staff and the city many thanks for the improvement on the fountain. I know Les mentioned that the last meeting, but it's really a great improvement to that area. I'm on the Historic Main Street Board as a liaison, but Penny Saidi, who is the chair, and Victor Gutierrez, who is the staff person, they are at a national convention conference, and so we don't have anything going on with that board and commission. It's kind of hard to sit and listen to the petitions because I can't respond to you all, but Mr. Howlett can attest to the fact that I'm very easily accessible. If there's something that you need to talk to me about, I don't want to give my phone number out over the air, but private message me on Facebook or call City Hall and they will tell you how to get a hold of me. If there's something that's bothering you or if you have questions, my office is always open. Right, Pat?
Yes, ma'am.
I think we spent a good 45 minutes in my office one day.
Very receptive.
So I can't respond to you through petitions and communications, but I can respond. I would like people to use that because I think the communication between constituent and city council person is important because I hear some of the information that you are giving is not 100% accurate. And I think if we can discuss that, both sides would have a better understanding of what's going on. And last but absolutely not least, today's Eli DeBono's birthday.
Birthday. 39?
Times 2 minus 11. 78 minus 11.
That's what you call commitment, coming to a meeting.
Really?
On your birthday. So happy birthday, Councilman.
Thank you.
I don't have any report, but I would like to bring up what we had talked about at the last work session. If we could get in another work session on some of the updates on the projects, that especially the street projects, the paving and that. Because I noticed, I don't know if you talked to anybody about the paving, but I noticed they've been getting a lot of asphalt. They have a company up here doing the church at the Baptist, doing that whole parking lot and everything. So the asphalt must be available. And then the lighting, like we wanted to especially get that up on the Santa Fe Trail and that, if we can work out some kind of something on that, because it is really dark up there now. So I know that you were busy, and I know you and Danny were supposed to get together. So we're not kind of rushing you, but we kind of want to see what we can get going, especially now. And that's it for me. Thanks, Mike.
I don't have a lot, but I do like these stickers. I don't know if you guys got these outdoor recreation stickers. We're just trying to get a conversation open about trails, water, and marijuana to kind of come into focus. I encourage you folks to keep coming to these city council meetings. Definitely. Keep prodding us to go in the right direction, and that's all I have for that.
I don't have a large update, Mayor. I have several meetings coming up, and I'll hopefully come with more information about that. I do have a request, and it's something that I've brought up before. I really, really think this is super important. When I first got on council, we talked about Trinidad's on the precipice of great things. The peak is coming, and I have so much respect for all the work that was done on that. That's a tremendous amount of work. The marijuana income, lots of stuff, very, very positive. But I'm certain you can go out and find lots of towns that were on the precipice of greatness and no longer are. So this is what I would request. I really would think it would be a good idea, a really good idea, if we could have a work session. We all ask for work sessions and work sessions and work sessions. But I think this is super important. The thing is many hands make light work. And there's many hands here, around town. Lots of people doing lots of things, and I'll just speak to just a couple. We have to find some way to help the marijuana industry. I've said that for a while. I don't want to knock that horse down again. But, you know, we brought up billboards last work session, and that was mentioned in the tourist group. But, you know, many hands make light work. But unless there's a cohesive direction applied to the many hands, the work is muddled. So I think we should have a work session that really focuses on some key points that is going to help Trinidad move forward. I think that would be the helping stabilize, recoup, whatever word you want to use, the marijuana industry. I mean, some, and I appreciate you guys indulging me this much time, but I mean, those major thoroughfares down to the southeast, and the east, 3-4 billboards, I think could drive a lot of traffic from points south to points here. I mean, we have great stuff we can put on Monument Lake, whatever. Let's get those people rerouted here. We have 2 great state parks here. When I worked for Pioneer, I spent a lot of time in Texas. You know, you meet 5 people, 4 of them say, man, I'd kill to live where you do. And you show them Fisher's Peak, whatever. I say, hey, this is the view from our office. They're dumbfounded. Let's get our name down there for people to come to these parks. Full disclosure, I enjoy mountain biking. I've mentioned that up here too before. You know, if we have trail systems, and I'm not talking eminent domain, private land, nothing like that, I think it'd be a huge benefit for citizens in town, and drawing people here if we had a cohesive and accessible trail system. We may not be the ones that affect that change, but we can be the people that oversee it and help it. I've said this before, but I think it, and I'm not trying to be a snob here, but I think it validates this point. You go to Fruta, and there's going to be 75 Subarus there with 3 mountain bikes on the back of them. The 3 mountain bikes, it can be a brand new Subaru of any value. The 3 mountain bikes are worth more than the car. People have money to spend. That's the truth. I mean, those people have money to spend. If we can turn ourselves into a destination for mountain biking, hiking, parks, marijuana tourism, we're on the cusp of a lot of change. I mean, Rusty came tonight, and that's eye-opening. Again, I'm not saying, hey, we're responsible for not doing this, but I think we can be responsible for directing traffic. Mayor, we had that retreat. I think this is an important enough subject to maybe have a focused time. I mean, and I don't know all the key players that would need to be there, but this group, we know the key players that would need to be there, and just have a open dialogue, and let's work together to do this. And I want to say, I think input from the public is super important. We all do. I'm not challenging that. I do want to say that input from the public isn't what caused this soliloquy. What do you want to call it? Ramble. But it did galvanize it and embolden me to take this much time. That's my sole request. If we could look at something, I think we are still on the precipice of greatness. Let's don't miss this opportunity. I would like my son to be able to grow up here and stay here, and we can bring a diversified tourism industry that'll go a big distance in helping. That's all I have.
I really agree with you. I really agree. We'll see what we can do. Ms. Ogletree was not here tonight, but she asked me to read this for the council as well as the audience. Recently, a friend and constituent approached me to let me know that she was disappointed in me as a city council member because some of the things I said during a recent council meeting that were later quoted in the paper. She heard and read those words to mean that I did not think that Trinidad was a welcoming place to newcomers or outsiders. In particular, she understood me to be saying that I did not believe our city manager was welcoming, because I will not be able to attend the city council meeting on May the 17th. I wanted to take an opportunity to publicly speak to her concern and address my misimpression that my words may have created. After apologizing for disappointing her, I let her know that I do believe that our city is very welcoming and a friendly place. Indeed, that I was elected to council as a relative newcomer would be contrary to thinking otherwise. Moreover, Liz and I were so welcomely embraced here in 2014 that we began looking for a house the day after we arrived for what originally was to be only a one-night stay. I believe Trinidad is an extraordinarily friendly place that has always opened its collective arms to people of all kinds from all over. I also believe and said so many times publicly and privately that our city manager is doing an extraordinary job, and I appreciate all the work he has done for many years at the city. While I do not always understand every decision he makes, I respect that his job is extremely difficult, and I stand behind him as a council member and someone who knows he is a very good man and a man of integrity. What I meant to communicate by my quoted words is that Trinidad is on the brink of changes that will likely result in more people coming here from places. New people necessarily bring with them new hopes and dreams and new ideas of what Trinidad can become. However, I've always believed that Trinidad natives, as well as newcomers, all want the same things: a stable, flourishing economy, a beautiful and safe community that supports and encourages thriving families, individuals, and businesses, and for everyone to become invested in our civic life together. I have observed that sometimes the old and the new come at these goals with different perspectives and work for them in different ways. This sometimes results in frustration, miscommunication, and a breakdown in relationships. I think that whoever we select as our new city manager, as well as our staff, will need to welcome those new ideas and new ways of operating in the city to accommodate the changes and achieve the progress we all want to see. My friend wisely suggested that we need to work harder to have honest and civil conversations about these things and to believe the best about one another. I heartily agree with her. If my words caused anyone else to be disappointed in me or in my leadership in this community, I also apologize to them. We are facing huge challenges in the next few years. From where I sit, I see that we all need to work together, understanding that some will be happy and some will not, with the ways mayor and council choose to address those challenges. Everyone of good conscience brings something useful to the table and deserves a place at that table. I believe that we should welcome all perspectives so that we can strengthen our civic bonds and make the best informed decisions that we can make for the future of the city. Thank you for listening. Aaron Ogletree. And I'll give you my report now. Two things, like I said, they're not in any particular sequence because I had some additional stuff. Just to let you know that I was asked to go talk to the American history class at School District 1 last week, and I had about 20 kids in there that were there to talk to them about city governments and what we all do as far as council and staff, and what we do. And it was a very interactive, talk with them. It was a good conversation. I also had an interview with, I'm not sure where this lady was from. She was from back east, and they wanted to know about the Fisher's Peak. And Wade Shelton from the Trust for Public Land asked me to talk to this lady, so I did. So I had a good, 20-minute interview with this lady. Also, Mike and I, like I said, we usually meet with Debbie and Mike Beasley, and we met with them last week, and he will be coming next work session.
Next work session.
So he will be here for our work session next week. Also went to Monument Lake again this last week. I think Ms. Craig was there, Mr. Valentine was there, I was there. But,
spot on.
The guy does a terrific job. We really do have a very class act operating that facility now. It's, I don't know about the fish, but.
As in fish, you can't give me a report on that.
But anyway, he's doing a fantastic job of the place. A few weeks back before that, I also attended the Action 22. It was a housing summit that they had in Pueblo. Mr. Valentine and I attended, and that was pretty informative. The thing about it is that there's so much money out there. You don't know which grant to apply for. Is it A, B, C, D, F, and G? Because a lot of these grants are overlapping. And so there's a lot of stuff out there. And Talitha was there, as a matter of fact. And so was Miss Hall. She was there too. So hopefully they've been able to take away some stuff of what we can do with trying to get some of that money. I also attended my last meeting of the Southwest Chief. As you know, I was not able to be a member of that Southwest Chief because I'm not a member of the Council of Government. So Luis Lopez is now the representative for the area for the Council of Government. Something I wanted to bring up, and we had a discussion, like I said, we had this discussion the other day about decorum, and I will want to say this, is that moving forward, council, staff, or attorney, we will not comment on anything that is said by the citizens, because it just seems to create more issues than it helps. So if any of us have anything like reports of what we're doing tonight, I think it's all well said. I think that's fine. But so as far as council, staff, attorney, manager, anybody, we all need to not respond to, there's things that they say about us, and that's okay. I mean, we're here to hear that. But I want our staff to know that you guys do a good job. You know the good job that you do. And we tell you that all the time. So we really want to thank you for that job that you guys do. Really do. We also need to watch our own personal decorum amongst ourselves. Interrupting one another. Got to be careful with that. Okay. You know, we make decisions here on the dais that is brought to us by staff. If it wasn't for staff, we would not have the information in front of us that we need to make proper decisions. And I know that some of the decisions that we make are not popular decisions. But it is what it is. I mean, sometimes we have to, what the citizens request and what we actually see from our side, we actually have to make the decision on the best interest of the entire city. Yesterday, they had a webinar on
good governance.
Good governance. Miss Greg and I attended that, and they're actually going to provide that to us. That all you guys, I would recommend that you listen to that, because for those of you that are newer, you can probably learn quite a bit from it. I think we'll be getting that information, and we'll give it to Audra so she can pass it on. You guys can probably look at that at your own leisure, whenever you can. But I think it would be something for you to, I even took away a couple of new items that I was not aware of. So it's something, and the guy that gave it was, there were three people I gave that.
Mm-hmm.
So it came from CML. There was an attorney on there, that specialized in council governance. So it was good to listen to him. The other thing too is I believe that all the boards and commissions, especially planning and zoning, should listen to that. Because they did reference that a couple of times. They mentioned P&Z, that they should be, because they're pretty big. The step down from council, they are next in line as the decisions that are made and some of the stuff that's brought in front of us. So it's very critical that I think that their entire board is aware of procedure. Very important. I also want to mention that, I know that everybody's concerned about the marijuana. We had this discussion, and I'll call and I'll talk to Rusty, because, you mentioned about, and I think the last when we discussed this, we also thought it would be a good idea to bring some of the industry in on a work session to talk to us. So we're not really doing, we haven't made any decisions of what we can do, but we've had a discussion. One of the things that I brought up is that right now, we currently have a 5% that we charge sales tax over and above the tax for the state and the city that goes to them. If we really want to, we can reduce that down to 1.5%, 4%. That would be a help for that industry. So these are things that, you know, we're thinking about, and I did mention that at that meeting. So I think, you know, we don't know if that's where council will want to go with it, but it's something that I think that is worthwhile as far as the discussion goes. Do you have anything else? And I really wanted to say, you know, I really do want to thank the citizens to come forward and talk to us. Give us their thoughts. But like I said, the big thing is that just like being respectful back and forth, I think it's important. And we will sit and we will listen to whatever issues that you might have. Like I said earlier, and when I opened the meeting, that in the next meeting or two, I need to get with Mr. Downs. We're going to put together a list of decorum things that we hope that everybody can abide by. It's not that we're not dictating, but we ask of that of you. So that'll be coming forward in the next probably meeting or two. Mr. Valentine.
Really, Mayor, Council, nothing to report this week, other than you may have noticed that there's a lot of work going on at the Fox. Finally, the contractor is on board, and good or bad, the marquee is down, and it's being curated as we speak, per what the State Historical Society requested, for use future or somewhere. So it's down, and then that front facade, they've put up their temp walls, and the front facade is going to be coming down and building back to the 1910-ish time frame. So it'll be nice. Progress is happening.
Good. So, one final thing I just thought of this is that, like Ms. Grego, I'm accessible to all of the public. If you give me a call, I will respond to you. I don't care if you cuss me out on the street or tap me on the shoulder in church, I really don't care. However, I will return your call. So if you have an issue you want to talk, you're really, really concerned about, call me. If you can't get my number, call City Hall, and they'll have me get in touch with you. So I'm willing to, matter of fact, from tonight's meeting, I will be contacting a couple of you people in the next few days to talk to you, just to let you know. And I got this, I forgot to mention this, that the Trinidad Water Festival that as Mr. Perry, Tom Perry has been putting on for the last, I think 2012 is when he started this.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's going to be on tomorrow.
Right, at
Yes.
8:30 in the morning.
Yeah. So, Mr. Downs.
I thought you forgot about me.
No, I never forget you.
Yeah. Mayor, council members, no report, just want to say happy birthday, Councilman Bono.
Thank you.
And also the Jim Fernandez renaming item was sure well represented.
Yes, it was.
And it was thanks to Councilman Shu and everyone who was here.
Okay.
That's all I've got, thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
So moved. All vote?
DeBono?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes.